Hi, I'm Andra, and I want to welcome you to this week's session for the journey home. And it's with me, your host, Andra Annette. So, this is a story of my life, and I guess my belief systems as I know them. I mean, everybody has a different belief system, and we're all raised different. But we're all raised to believe that we're not enough, and that's kind of why I'm out here doing this journey, because I was that person that wasn't always confident, lacked self belief for a really long time, and I dabbled in some things that got me into trouble, and I wasn't really living up to my potential. So I guess my message across most of my platforms is that you can achieve anything as long as that you believe you can. So I'm also that person that lost 126 pounds in under a year without plateauing and went on to lose 160 in total. So I have been in health 40 plus years, and I love it more today than the day I started. But the truth is, anybody really can heal themselves. We all have that ability, and when you tell people that, they kind of look at you like you're crazy. But I believe it to be true. So I want to tell you a little story about when I was a kid growing up. I used to spend a lot of time alone. It was a choice that I made. A lot of people didn't understand that because most of what I do today and every day of my life is with the public. But when I come home and close that door, I do like that alone time. And it was a way for me to shut off my brain, I guess you could say. Since the time I was very small, I was always, I guess, what people call intuitive. I could always feel other people's hurt, thoughts a lot of times. I never knew what they meant. I thought there was something wrong with me. That I did hear what other people were thinking. I knew what they were going to say a lot of times before they said it. And I always kind of had that deja vu experience, but every day and many days, all day. And it was very uncomfortable for me to look at someone when they were talking to me because I kind of knew what they were going to say. So I started looking at their lips, which was great because I learned to read lips too. So, but it was odd. I felt like I was an odd person. I just kind of knew things. I don't know how I knew them, but I did do a lot of reading, even at a young age. As long as I can remember, I always enjoyed reading. My mother used to give me these books, Curious George, Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, and I always read things. I also had, I want to say, a lisp, right? So, certain words I had difficulty with, so I was very conscious of it. So I also read the dictionary, and I found it very interesting. So I was a weird child. So when I would hear things or feel things and have those deja vus, I felt like maybe it was because I was there before, or I had heard them say it before, or maybe I had a dream that this was going to happen and I was living a dream. When I was a child, I had some pretty terrible dreams. To a child. As an adult, not so scary. I used to have a dream about a man chasing me, and he just kept chasing me until he cornered me in an alley in a garbage can. And he looked kind of like our version of Freddy Krueger today. And he found me in the garbage can. And I remember waking up and screaming, and my mother always bringing me orange juice. I know it's odd, but I remember that very vividly. So I remember deciding that I just wasn't going to dream anymore, that dreams weren't something that I needed, and that I was going to shut them off. So I don't know exactly what that day was, but as near as I can tell, I really don't dream anymore. I don't have any dreams that I remember or recall. Um, I also went through this period where I would plan my dreams, think about something before I went to sleep so it would show up again later in my dream. And that was pretty effective for a while. And then I just decided, who really needs dreams anyway? So I really don't recall dreams or things that I'm thinking about. And I've had other people tell me too that I'm very intuitive. Why are you telling me this, Andra? Well, because I always kind of felt like the odd person out. I could always feel if someone was hurting internally, whether it was emotional or physical. I always felt a very strong connection to people. I don't know why. I had the same connection with animals, right? I've worked with doctors for a really long time, and I would have doctors ask me all the time, how do you even know this stuff? Like, if I would say something was wrong with a patient, they would be like, and what am I ordering for this? And how do you know this? And I'd just be like, I don't know. I just, I just know. Just please check. I know. And they just learned to get used to that being part of me and kind of trusting my opinion when I said things that sounded off to other people. But they said, well, let's hear what she has to say. I remember telling a doctor that I heard metal when I was catheterizing a gentleman. And he said, Andra, how do you even hear metal? I said, like that screeching down a blackboard. I said, I can't explain it, but he's got metal in there somewhere. And it turned out later that that gentleman did die, and there was an autopsy done, and he had something called a hydraulic lift to help him ejaculate because he had difficulty at his age. So the doctor came back that day and said, Andra, I will never question anything you say to me again. He said, do you know what was wrong with that man? And of course I can't tell you because of HIPAA, but he did tell me the story and how he found out, and that was that. But I've always kind of felt a little odd. Like in school, they would say that like I had ADHD or whatever they used to call it back then because I couldn't sit still. I couldn't concentrate or be there in the classroom. And the work was just always very easy for me. I don't know why, but it was. And they would later test me and put me in classes that they thought would help, but it really never did. But they thought that I had trouble concentrating. I just didn't enjoy what was being taught. I know that sounds odd from a child, but I didn't find it that fascinating because if they were talking about science or something I loved, even back then, I was all ears and I was front and center paying attention. So this is important because as early as 3, I would bring home, maybe a little older, I know I was walking, I would bring home animals, and I always kind of knew how to fix them and set them back to where they were meant to go. My sister remembers a story about her cat. Her cat was in heat. The cat wasn't spayed. And even back then, I was a little girl, I knew to give the cat analgesics. I also knew that the body weight of the cat and the body weight of someone our age was much different, so I had the common sense to break it into smaller pieces. I wouldn't recommend anybody else do this because in hindsight it wasn't very smart. But I kind of always felt that connection to people and animals. But I felt like I wanted to shut my brain off a lot. So I spent a lot of time alone because then I didn't have all those voices or see things that sometimes I just didn't want to see. Good things and bad things, but I just felt like they weren't my business. But I always had that deja vu feeling. I still get that a lot today. I've learned to control it a little more as I got older, but it's helped me in my career a lot if someone was telling me something and I knew it wasn't true, or I could see their body was saying something very different. It did help me probe more. So I didn't like it growing up, but I've learned all the benefits of being different and having different abilities than other people. So is it an ability? I'm not sure. Sometimes it feels like a disability to know what somebody might be thinking, or to know that someone's not telling you the truth when they're telling you something, to know with certainty that it's just not what they're saying just isn't real. But I've learned to accommodate and move past it. But health-wise, it does help. So I think at a very young age, when I shut off those dreams, I always knew that we had an ability as people to really believe something and have it happen, right? That if we set our mind to anything, that it could happen. So I'm always out here encouraging people to believe in themselves and believe that anything is possible, because from a very early age, I found out that it really is. That if you believe in something strongly enough, that, and I don't know if it's psychosomatic or the impact it has on our brain, believing so strongly in things. I know that emotions and feelings and beliefs are all energy. And when you think of things that are on higher level of energy, that it attracts similar energy to you. So you hear a lot of people talking about the law of attraction and all that stuff. It's similar to that, but a little different. Because it really is an ability. It's not like people are looking at the law of attraction. Some people really believe in it and other people think it's really woo-woo. But as human beings, we do have that ability to attract things to ourselves, things that we want, things that we believe in, things that we work on. So as children, we're really taught to look outside ourselves for things that we've always had the ability to do inside ourselves, that we have to work hard, maybe we have to get married, maybe have children, maybe we have to go for a girly job instead of being an engineer, something that we really want. And I think that we've gotten very away from who we are as humans. So, and our abilities as humans. And there's a lot of poverty and a lot of pain in the world that can really change if people believe that it can. So I guess I'm just out here sharing that message with people and talking to people. So I help people with health. So telling people you have the ability to heal yourself probably wouldn't bring me a lot of business. I know that. But we have a responsibility to other people, that we have to share those things and share those things honestly. And I'm also one of those people that believe that your money and your abundance is directly connected to how much good you put out in the world. So I'm always offering myself to people because I think that's the nicest thing that you can really do, offer your time. So that's a little bit about me. So I said that we were going to start talking more about being present. So that has a lot to do with the sickness and the illness, the emotional issues, the mental issues that we have going on today in the world, is disassociation from self, right? So let's take a child that believes that their body is fat when they're very thin, right? Someone that suffers with anorexia or bulimia. They've dissociated in their brain the truth from reality. So there's a lapse in judgment there because they don't believe that they are beautiful or attractive, or they have body dysmorphia, right? So it's a real issue. So and that is a dissociation from self and reality. And that seems to be happening a lot in the world with people and their belief systems, in their capabilities, their ability to achieve health, their ability to achieve abundance, their ability to achieve the perfect relationship or have a happy life. So I want to start talking about being present and what that really looks like on a day-to-day basis, because we talk about mindful eating and nutrition, and I am a holistic practitioner. I am board certified nutritionist, and I talk about mindful eating a lot, and with with clients, and it's not just eating. It's a way of life. Being present where you are, chewing your food when you're eating. If you're at the gym, being present there. When you're with your friends, being present there. Enjoying that experience and bringing it in and absorbing it into your day. It's so healthy for us to be where we are instead of our minds always racing somewhere else. So, and I was one of those people that were always racing. So my life changed very dramatically when I started being more present in my day to day. I was one of those people who was very detached. I was busy multi-managing different things. I had family members that were sick. I worked in facilities all day long, caring for other people as a nurse. And, time I got home, it was very late. And there was very little time for anything else. And I would always say, tomorrow, 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 and tomorrow never came, right? So my life changed in a way where I really do have such an appreciation. I lost a lot of family members, but I think I have more appreciation for each day when I wake up, when I try to find something good at the end of my day. So that's usually how I end my days. I try to find what went well that day, maybe what went bad too, so that I can reflect and think about how I might change that situation, or maybe what my part was in that made that situation bad, so I can change that going forward if that situation were to happen again. But I also like to look back over my day and look at all those little good golden moments that I had and pick one that I thought was the best and why it was good and what I enjoyed about it. Because I find that if I end my day on a high note, I wake up in a better mood, I sleep better. So it really is about being present. We're very controlled by what's going on around us. The economy's not great. We got a presidential election coming up. I don't think anybody's really thrilled about that, and the candidates. Some people might be, but so we have pressures from our job, pressures from our relationships, pressures just from day-to-day life. And then we're kind of rushing through those moments, from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, where we're running to work, we're running here with the kids, we're running, running, running. But there's real no downtime. We spend a lot of time on social media, interacting with other people. And, a lot of that is very glam. A lot of it's really not all that true. But people kind of get that sense of, why not me? Why can't I? Or, they read into that, and there's a sense of loss for something that they might not even really want. So I want to talk about being present in your day-to-day and learning to find gratitude for things no matter how small they are, because gratitude really does change everything in your life. When you can find 3 things even every day that you're grateful for, your life will start to change dramatically. Things start to happen that are better. If we're always worried about the bad, let's say financially things aren't well for you. If you're always thinking about where your next dollar is coming from, then there's no room for abundance to flood your accounts, right? Because you can't be in scarcity and be in abundance at the same time. They cancel each other out. So you can't be positive some of the time and negative most of the time and expect that to work in your life is kind of my message for today. So, go all in on yourself. Be positive. So, as far as health concerns, health is really simple to achieve. A lot of people lack the confidence in themselves to achieve their goals because they've already canceled them out with that negative, telling themselves that they really can't do it, and without trying, and they will lose motivation because they're not starting from a place of I got this. They're starting from a place where I can't do this, and it really changes the whole scenario. Everything changes, right? And I understand that because I was that person who got very away from health, and I felt like I couldn't do it. Like, how did I get to this place? How do I get back? And when I changed my mind to, hey, I know this, I can absolutely do this, everything really shifted in my world. That confidence, that belief system, everything really changed. And it was really that simple. Because when you believe you can do something, you're being more accountable to yourself, right? I can do this doesn't mean sitting down with a box of Oreos, right? Because that is not in alignment with the goals that you're trying to achieve, right? So I think that you are more accountable to yourself when you start feeling that self-esteem and that self-confidence and that believability that anything is possible, because it kind of cancels out that lackluster of motivation and that disbelief in yourself. Health is a continuum. A lot of people are saying, oh, just fix your gut health and everything comes back. It's not necessarily true, because even though your gut is connected to everything in your body connects to everything, right? It's not just hanging off to the side somewhere. It's a complete system. So maybe it wasn't your gut that caused the dysfunction in your body or the hormonal shift. So gut does regulate hormones, but not all hormones. The pituitary is your hormone ecosystem. So a lot of what happens in your hormones is related to what's going on in the pituitary also. So if your gut's not in balance, it is going to impact all of your other systems. And not because it's connected to everything, because I just said your whole system is connected. But if one system isn't working, they all start to tumble. It's like that domino effect, right? So if one system comes down, they all start to follow, because all the other systems that work together compensate to help the one that's down. So if your gut's down, or let's say your kidneys are down, right? Your kidneys are responsible for your pressure. So now your heart's got to work twice as hard to keep that pressure up and keep that blood circulating, right? So after just going, it's going to start getting weaker, because your heart can only pump at such a speed for so long before it starts to decrease in capacity or cardiac output, right? So so all systems can come down from one system, right? But when you're trying to repair your health and you have a problem in a specific area of your health, like if you know you have hypertension, then you don't just focus on bringing your gut back up. You focus on that hypertensive issue, right? Because you know that you need to lower your salt. There's certain things you have to eat for heart health. Because even though it does work with the gut, those things are going to help that heart. So you focus on the foods that you need for your system to bring that system back up, and the other systems will start coming up too, right? Little by little, they'll start to get repaired. But you do have to focus on where the problem started, right? It's like focusing on your gut and you have a thyroid problem. So the thyroid and gut are connected. They have a thyroid gut axis, right? But if the problem started in your thyroid, you have to fix the problem in your thyroid. Fixing your gut is not going to resolve your thyroid issue. It's just not that simple. And a lot of people don't understand that. So when I say that everybody can heal themselves, they absolutely can. Because all of that information is out there. And it's just really about eating for your body. So some of us can eat certain foods and we just don't have a taste for it. Other foods we eat, we get like gastric reflux. We're like, oh, that didn't sit well with me at all, right? Or we belch a lot. We get very gassy from certain foods. So those foods are probably not good for your body if they're making you feel that way, right? So then we eat less of those and we eat more of the things that make us feel good, right? So with me, I had a lot of inflammation in my body because I had several autoimmune diseases. So I wanted to bring down the inflammation. So I ate a really high anti inflammatory diet. And after several months of doing that, the systems that I was targeting started to get better. But I was targeting those different systems with the different foods that support those systems to bring them all back up. Does that make sense? So, and I've been in health a really long time. This doesn't take rocket science to figure out what's going on in your body. So there's a lot of people out there that are suffering with pain. So that is in the gut. Pain is a gut health issue. If you have pain and inflammation, then you have a gut health problem. If you have a gut health problem, you're leaning towards that chronic inflammation. You will have pain, and it will be going and going and going until you undo the damage that's in the gut, right? So gut is responsible for the cortisol. Cortisol runs throughout your whole body. It's everywhere in your saliva, your hair, your roots, everywhere, right? So it's hard to escape it. I once heard someone telling somebody online that you can stop making cortisol, and I just want to say, no, you can't, because you'd be dead. It would be a medical emergency. So just be careful who and what you listen to out there. Even me, always research, look things up. You have to educate yourself. So health has become a really big business. There's millions of people online now selling programs, claiming to be coaches and experts and all this stuff. And you really don't know who's who, right? So your health is the most precious thing you have ever, okay? Without health, there's nothing else. So be mindful of the things you listen to. Always do your research. And, when in doubt, reach out to someone. Ask them, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm out here answering lots of questions anyway, right? So, but, and don't underestimate your ability to really rid yourself of pain and inflammation, or get your hypertension back to a place where you don't need you don't need medication anymore. Get your heart healthy again. Walking and eating right and doing things that you need to do, right? Stressing less, because stress is the biggest cause of every disease, okay? So it's linked to everything. And that's it. Be safe. Be healthy. So I mentioned that I wasn't always healthy. I think I've talked about having alcohol issues here before in the past. That was a long time ago. I'm glad that's behind me, but it never really goes away because you have to deal with it for the rest of your life. So alcohol at one time in my life was my hero, I guess you could say, where it was easier for me not to think about some of the emotional abuse that I went through and the hard times. So I would drink to forget, until it got so painful that I wanted to remember, right? And I put that drink down. And yeah, so we all have our different ways of dealing with things. I wasn't always in a body I loved. I was as a child and I am again now, but that was because of the healing process. So a lot of what happens in our body's exterior is really something that we're holding on to interiorly, right? So you might have heartburn, or skin issues. Who's getting under your skin, right? So it does show up in our real world. So we do have to learn as a society to let things go. If somebody bumps into you, you shouldn't be 3 blocks down saying, the nerve of that guy. Did you see him bump into me like that? You have to let these little things go because life is so short, so short. And the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to really enjoy the time that you have now. And how do we do that, Andra? By being present. Yes. So I know sometimes I'm a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I'm always me all the time. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks. I happen to really like me. You know? It took me a long time to get to that place, too. Wasn't always the case. So I did want to tell you that I'm very big on reflection, and it was kind of looking back over my life that how I was able to figure out the problems that were going on in my own life and really change the trajectory of my outcomes. So you can reverse engineer just about anything that happens, and that is your answer to your solution, right? So, and that's what I did, and that reflection and doing that inner work changed my life. So I appreciate where I am today. I appreciate my life today. There's very few things that don't make me happy because I'm in a place where I'm capable of being happy. And I wasn't always capable of being happy. I suffered with depression a lot of years growing up. I've been through a lot more than I let on about because I don't dwell, and I did have to let that go. It doesn't mean that looking back is bad for you. I reflected on those things. I understood my part in them. But you don't stare and stay there, right? After it's gone, and you got to let it go, right? And it took me a long time to understand that. But I was holding on to a lot of sickness. Those led to that alcohol addiction and other things that made me struggle more than I really had to. So a lot of the things that I struggled with were things that were done to me, not necessarily things that I did to myself. So that alcohol was something I was doing to myself, and I had suffered enough, right? But my best way of dealing with was hurting myself more. Not a good decision? No. So if you're having issues like that, there's so many support groups out there. AA is an amazing place. You meet some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. It is a lifelong commitment, but one day at a time. And you only have today, right? But people don't always understand things unless they've gone through it themselves. But I will like to tell you that most of the people that I've met in the rooms, you know, and I speak at different occasions, most of the people that I've met in a lot of these room environments all have one thing in common. They just believed that people didn't understand them. Nobody knew how they felt because they all felt different. Like, you don't get how I'm feeling. This only happens to me. And the one thing we all had in common was we all felt that way at one time or another. So, so there's hope for everybody, no matter what you're going through in life. I hope I could share that message with you today, that no matter where you are right now, we have kids that just end their lives. I had a friend recently, I found out that he committed suicide, and that's so final, and it was devastating because he was such a nice guy, and he had his whole life ahead of him. Funny. So there's always hope. You never know what's around the corner tomorrow. If you're looking for better health and you want to reflect, I just created a series of reflection journals because I journal a lot. A lot of people don't understand the benefits of journals, and they think it's just around food, but it's not. If you can go back and look at something, a place where you were 2 years ago in your life and where you are now, you might have been struggling 2 years ago and now you're at the top of the world. So it's so good to be able to have that to reflect on and say, well, what changed? Where did this go? How did this go from here to here? And how can I bring this into other areas of my life, you know? So I used to rush through the supermarket and just throw things in the basket and stuff like that. And now I'm very present even when I'm in the supermarket. I'm really focusing on what I need, you know, why I'm there, you know, things like that. When I go anywhere, I'm there. I'm totally 100% there. I don't have my mind focusing on where I am 3 hours from now or all the things I have to do, because I find that makes me less capable in those situations, you know. I can't be checking my email and checking my messages at the same time, right? And I'm a multitasker, so I probably could do that very easily, but it's not enjoyable, and I'm missing something. I'm not feeling whatever that message is trying to send me, and I'm not enjoying right where I am because I'm in two places. Even my attention is split, my outcomes will be split, right? I'll be less effective, because if you're doing things half-ass, you're going to get a half-ass result, right? So that's it. So we are going to start talking a little bit more about health, fruits, vegetables, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, thyroid, all those things, because I think there's a lot of people that go to the doctor, right? And you know, these videos are always posted somewhere. You could always leave me a message under any one of the videos and saying, hey, you know, I'd like to learn more about this, and I'll be happy to do a video on that for you, okay? So I think sometimes people go to the doctor and they should say, talk to me like I'm a fourth grader, because a lot of doctors use medical jargon and people leave more confused than when they went in, right? So and people can tend to go to a doctor when there's something wrong, and usually there's several symptoms and they're only mentioning one. And doctors are not great puzzle makers, right? So they don't understand if they don't have all the pieces. So let's say you're having heart palpitations, you have fatigue, you're not going to the bathroom. So these are all different symptoms, right? So if you're having heart palpitations, he might just check your thyroid and do an EKG, you know, things that might throw that off, right? But when you start talking about the constipation issue and the other issues, the fatigue, it's kind of narrowing the focus where people can give you more help, because now they have a better understanding of what's going on in your body. So if you're not feeling well, write those lists and say, I'm experiencing A, B, C, and D. Write it on a list, take it with you to the doctor and say, this is what I've been experiencing over the last 2 days. And if fatigue is common for you, it's important to say that too. I'm always fatigued. I get short of breath when I'm walking 2 blocks, or I get short of breath when I'm walking 4 blocks. I'm having a W trouble today. I don't know why. So yeah, so it's really important to distinguish whether it's 2 blocks or 5 blocks, right? You might have intermittent claudication, or you might have a clot forming, and it could be something more serious. So doctors do better when they have the complete picture. I've worked with fabulous doctors. I've learned so much from them. They were always willing to teach the nurses, and it was a great experience. So I hope you've enjoyed this session. I hope I didn't bore you too much with my stories, but I think you need to get to know a little bit about me, right? I think you need to understand who I am, why I'm here, and why it's so important for me to reach out and help people. Most of the people who have helped me the greatest in my life were total strangers, right? So me coming online, trying to educate people on health and stuff is my way of giving it forward, right? certainly I have businesses too, so there is some financial gain involved. I don't want you to think this is just because I have nothing else to do. I do have several businesses. I still work in healthcare, and I'm actively writing more books. So keep your eyes out for them. I did just write a children's book, Rocky Finds His Roar. I did it about a patient that inspires me, a little guy that I love, and keep your eyes out for that because that will be released very soon. It's already released. I just wanted him to have his first copy, so you can get yours soon enough. All right, guys, I hope you're having a great day. I probably will come in like once a month and just share some things on health with you, tell you a little bit about my story and what's going on in my life, so you have an idea of who I am and why this is so important. And we've gotten very away from health in America. So if you're in America, you need to be listening to this podcast or whatever it is, because we have gotten so far away from what health really is, and we need to find our way back, right? Because we're teaching our children that. I've never seen so many issues with obesity and heart disease and kidney issues and diabetes as I have in the current years, right? And I've been in healthcare 40 years. We are getting worse, not better. So there's more health professionals and coaches and people online, and the population continues to get sick. And we can change our health. I promise you, you have total control over your health. So have a good day. Take care.